Thank you so much for joining me for Season 3 of On the Road With. My name's Gareth and I'm your host, and this show is dedicated to talking to touring professionals from the entertainment and performing arts industries. We cover all sorts of topics such as the mental health side of being on the road, how they got started, and the realities behind being on the road and touring for a living. Don't forget you can catch up on Seasons 1 and 2 of the show wherever you get your podcast fix, and all episodes are also available on my YouTube channel Gareth John Music, which is also my handle for all social media accounts. You can also listen to all the commercially available music from Seasons 1, 2 and 3 of the show on the On the Road With Featured Songs playlist on Spotify. Now, today's guest is a really good friend of mine. She's had quite an unusual career trajectory and quite an interesting journey, which we go into in some detail. She's widely known in the house music genre, but is also a great jazz and soul singer, somebody I really enjoy working with. So please do sit back and enjoy my conversation with Lisa Millett. Lisa, thanks for doing this.
No worries, Gareth. Nice to see you. Nice to hear you.
Well, yeah, virtually, yeah. So I usually start, a lot of interviewers start with the how did the story start and go right back to the beginning, but I like to start with the here and now. So we talked a little bit about it before we sort of went on air, so to speak. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about what you've been doing during the lockdown and how you found it, really.
I've been up and down during the lockdown. I think it was a bit of a shock to the system at the beginning, but actually now it's given me time to write and to I'm starting to set up a label for my own stuff, and so not so bad. Been doing some, online video things and teaching online, so it's not so bad.
How do you obviously you're teaching singing online, are you? And how do you find that? Because I was teaching a trumpet player yesterday, and it was just an absolute nightmare. I was asking him to play a passage, a jazz thing. And I could only, because of the signal was so bad his end, I could only hear every other note, so I couldn't tell him if he'd got it right or not. Do you know what I mean? Do you get that sort of thing with I've not taught vocals online yet, so I can't really answer that question myself.
If it's individual, it's not such a problem because I don't know. So far, I've not really had a problem with signals, but when it's a group situation, that's a bit more tricky because obviously you can't get everybody to sing at the same time. Yeah. So you have to figure out a way of doing it. So I tend to get each individual to sing that part, and then the next one does it, and then so on and so forth. But that I find complicated and a bit of a ball ache, really. but one-to-one is fine.
One thing I wanted to just talk about was your kind of unusual journey, really, I would say. And correct me if I'm wrong. This is what I've got from so when you first moved back to Leicester. And got back involved with stuff here. I'd kind of heard your name about, and then obviously you go quite a long way back with our good friend Steve Nutter. Yeah. And he kind of told me a bit about you when we were in the studio, and he was saying that you went down quite a classical route training wise, but you've actually ended up jazz is a big love of yours, but you've ended up being predominantly a house music singer. So just talk to us a bit about how that. It sounds like a really unconventional journey. So just talk to us about that a little bit.
Well, I was determined as a kid to be an opera singer for some reason. I got that into my head. I started having classical singing lessons from like the age of 10 till I was about 19. So I passed all my grades and stuff. But I failed my A-level music. But I did audition for the Guildhall.
Right.
But I didn't get in, I'm assuming because I didn't get my A-level music. And then I was in a funk band in Leicester. And we were all going to move to London anyway, so we moved to London. And one of the brass players was at the Royal Academy, and he said they've just started a jazz course. Yeah. So I auditioned and I got in, and that was that. And it was brilliant, actually. It's probably the most influential 4 or 5 years of my life because we were just allowed to play, basically, play music all the time and study, and that was. For a musician, that's everything.
It's a dream, isn't it?
With other musicians, and also because the Royal Academy had classical and a commercial music course and a jazz course, so you get to play music with everyone, from every genre. So it was a great time. Really lucky, really, really lucky.
And do you think that kind of Well, it sounds like it wasn't that formal actually. So a lot of it was about just working with other musicians and playing all the time. It was very performance driven. But do you think that kind of formal music training is still vital, or is not that important, or a bit of both?
It was actually very formal, but it was about performance predominantly, but also about music construction. Orchestral, big bands, small groups, brass ensembles. So vocal groups, everything. You were kind of taught how to write because I did second study composition anyway. So you got taught to write in all these different formats and stuff, and to get your head around that. And it was invaluable. And also because we had a lot of visiting lecturers who were always performing in London, because it's based in London. Performers that were performing in London would come and visit, so we get a lot of information from these kind of guys and girls, and it was just enlightening, really, really, really amazing. Really, I was very lucky, and the standard of musicianship was also really important, because it just dragged you up to a higher level of performance.
Yeah, that's it. It's
knowledge as well.
You kind of you're not going to get any better unless you work with the best, are you?
No, but they actually encourage you to be better.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. If you get the best musicians, but they're also great people who want to help you and want you to be better. That's gold dust, really, isn't it?
Absolutely, really.
So okay, so you come out of was it the Royal Academy? Did you say? So you come out of the Royal Academy. What is the opera singer dream still alive, or is it a different?
Long
course
since dead by then. Long since dead.
So what's the ambition and goal then at that point?
Well, while I was still at college, I was doing music sessions, because I'd started doing pop sessions while I was still in Leicester as a teenager. Some local vocalists had got me some sessions in London, so I was doing that all the way through college anyway. And I think I got my first deal just before I left.
Right.
So, and that was a electronic band, a dance band in Manchester called Evolution, and I was with them for about 3 years on God, I can't even remember the label. It don't exist anymore. Deconstruction. There you go.
Right. Okay.
So I was doing that before I left college anyway. So that was good. Didn't really come to much. We did a lot of tours. We supported like M people on tours, and had a few releases. But to be honest, they didn't really do much with us. Sometimes you get on a label and they just sit on you and they don't really help, because they had a lot of big artists on the label like Kylie and people, so we were small fry, so we didn't really get much out of them. And I left a few years later.
And the whole touring with sort of bigger names and supporting them, and and kind of trying to siphon a bit of their audience off for yourself. Do you think that did that happen for you guys, or was that did that have a point to it, that exercise, or was it just a kind of, well, they're on our label as well, so we'll stick you on tour with them?
I think it was that the label put us on tour with them, but it did actually do me a lot of favours, because by the time I'd left Evolution, I'd got a lot of session work from house music producers, so it kind of just took off from there, really. It was a happy accident. I wasn't really aiming for house music. I was aiming for jazz, really, because by the time I'd finished college, that was really what I wanted to do.
There's no money in jazz, though, Lisa.
Yeah, I know.
So you made the right choice.
Well, yeah.
It sounds to me like from what I've heard from from our like mutual musician friends that you're coming back to jazz a lot these days, because
Yeah,
you've kind of done a long
trying to.
time in the house music thing, and you kind of want a bit of a change.
Yeah, definitely. I've got a lot of projects that I've been working on for years that I haven't really, that haven't really come to fruition. So that's the reason I'm starting a label to just put out the stuff that isn't. It's not dance music. Most of it. It's some of it's electronic, some of it's jazz.
Yeah.
So it's a vehicle to put out all the stuff I haven't managed to get around to putting out over the years. So
And
yeah, I am coming back to the things that I love the most, really, I suppose.
and the whole running your own label and launching your own label thing seems to be the way to go these days, doesn't it? There's not that kind of culture of a major picking you up and giving you a big advance. It does happen, but not anywhere near as much as it used to. Record deals used to be. It's a bit like mortgages. Anyone could get one, at that point.
To be honest, I think labels have. I think the onset of technologies have really kind of given labels a kick up the bum because they didn't really embrace it early on, and so they're all sort of playing catch up. And I think because the younger generation are so savvy with online stuff,
yeah,
that people of my generation kind of missed it as well because it's not something we were brought up on. It's something we've had to learn.
Yeah. It's an adaptation for you guys, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. I tend to avoid it, and I'm not a great social media person. I dip in and out, and at the moment during lockdown, particularly, I was on it for a lot of time early on, and now I virtually don't touch it because, quite frankly, it does my head in.
It does.
So
it does. Yeah.
For vehicles to promote stuff, but other than that, I try and avoid it.
Yeah,
it's time consuming as well. That's the thing that really winds me up about it because I want to spend time making music, not sitting online tapping little messages about whatever I'm doing every 5 seconds. So I find it quite intrusive. I'd rather just step away and then I'll step in when I've got something to say. I did get one guy who was angry that I put up a video about Black Lives Matter, and it wasn't actually. He actually didn't bother to look at the video to see what I'd put up.
Well, that happens a lot as well. Though people don't actually look at it. Yeah.
And then this just long rant ensued, and I was trying to be polite, and in the end, I just thought, whatever. But this trolling thing I find deeply disturbing.
Yeah.
Because it's so anonymous, and people. It's like people don't have the ability to understand how it affects people.
No, they don't. They don't.
And I've watched things about other people over the lockdown, and some of the abuse people have got, and I've just thought, you know what, I can't do this anymore, and I literally stepped away.
Yeah.
And it wasn't aimed at me, but it was just watching how nasty people can be.
Oh yeah, there's been even
over next to nothing.
Even between some Leicester musicians that we know, I'll just say that there's still there's some real nastiness over.
Is there really?
Yeah. Oh, did you not know? I'll tell you properly when we're not recording. But yeah, even between certain Leicester musicians that we know, there's been a real nastiness, which is only intensified during lockdown. And I think because everyone's mental health during lockdown is suffering anyway. Do you know what I mean? And I think some people take it out on social media. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just have this both barrels. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not healthy at all, is it?
That's why I duck, darling. It's the best way. Duck and move away.
Absolutely, yeah. That's it. One thing I want to talk about moving on is the importance of kind of collaboration. I think it's quite relevant because us two are talking because we've done some collaboration recently with the Brasstards.
We have indeed.
And I hope to do a lot more big band wise as well. Going forward. So yeah, what do you think the importance of collaboration is, both live and in the studio? I guess you've done a fair amount of both. I mean, right from college days, like you were saying.
Yeah, it's always been. It's the thing about dance music, from a collaboration point of view, is it's quite limited because it's, for me, mostly people will send me a track, I'll write something, vocal it, and send it back. And then, so even though it's a collaboration, it's quite distant. Whereas with like my band, I've got a band, Group OX, where there's many people in that band, and it's the physicality of it. It's actually being around other people and writing with someone that you mutually respect, and you like their music and their ideas. And for me, collaboration is a wonderful thing, although I do love to write on my own.
Right.
So it's a bit of both, really. You know, I like to write on my own, and I like to write with people.
Yeah, well, there's strengths to different sides. I think it depends on the song as well. Like I've and also collaboration can be the other person's input or your input can be any size. It's still valuable. So like I wrote a song for my upcoming album where I'd got the whole thing sorted. It all came. You know what? Sometimes it's great in it when everything comes to you in like an hour and a half song done.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it very rarely happens, but I'd kind of got everything finished apart from the chorus. I just couldn't think of. I had the chords, but I couldn't think of and I knew the melody. But I couldn't think of the right words to go over that. And I just, I remember, I was meant to be going out with a mate of mine who also is a songwriter, and we were meant to be going out for a beer, and then he said, "Oh, actually, mate, I've got my head in this song at the minute, and I really want to finish it." I said, "Yeah, me too, one of mine. So we'll do it. We'll go for a beer tomorrow." But then he kept sending, and he's one of those who can just shit out songs. You know what I mean? Just churns them out, and I hate those people. Make me sick because I'm not a quick writer whatsoever. But he, in the time that I finished one song, he sent me like 2 or 3, and I think, all right. Okay. And then I rang him and I said, "Mate, I can't this chorus." And I said, just wait there, put the phone on the side, and played the piano, melody and chords. And he said, "Oh yeah, you want this? This is the words, yeah." And he just told me what they were. It just came to him straight away. So he's got like a tiny little credit on that song, you know, very small. Yeah. But without him, I wouldn't have the song because it's the chorus. Do you know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing with collaboration. You get to see things from somebody else's point of view, and they come up with things that you just wouldn't think of.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because they don't think the same as you, and that's the beauty of collaboration.
Yeah,
that they bring something to the table that you don't have, or that you wouldn't necessarily consider.
Yeah,
that's right. They open up your mind to experiment as well. So it is great for that. I really like it for that. With the Brasstards, because I haven't worked with any brass, you know, with a brass group for years, and when I came in to do that guide vocal for you, and just to watch, how many of there is you?
7 when you've got the full complement,
yeah, 7 instrumentalists. It was just a beautiful sound, and so inspiring to be able to hear that combination of instruments, and it was, I was really excited because it was a new kind of lineup of musicians to play with, and that for me is just everything. You know, to have these unusual situations are what keeps you going, what keeps you inspired, and what keeps you wanting to do more. And from that, I've thought about doing some brass stuff, some brass arrangements as well. So yeah, it's great to collaborate.
It is, and it also the challenge with the Brasstards, I've always said from day one, is that I want to try and get. There's a lot of those New Orleans type bands where everything's kind of just hooks and riffs and a bass line, and it's great live, really really good live. You know, gets the crowd going. But alongside that, what I wanted us to do from day one was write songs with a verse, a chorus, a middle eight, and all that. I want properly structured songs, you know what I mean, and do covers that are proper songs, you know what I mean, not just a little riff here and there. And the challenge there is, one of the potential disadvantages of a brass group is that you've chord wise, you've not got that guitar or piano holding it down like you would in another.
You don't need
band.
It.
Well, you don't know.
I've listened to you so much, and you just don't need it. You work, you compensate beautifully. It's not a problem. But I've never heard anything that you've done where I thought anything was lacking. Not at all. Yeah. Whoa. Ooh,
Saturday, Sunday, all melt into one. But I will never breathe again until I feel the sun. Yeah, and oceans can collide, land can hit the sky, but I won't breathe again until I see you. Oh, oceans can collide, land can hit the sky, but I won't breathe again until I see you. Tell me, is it gonna be will there be another long and lonely day until I see you? Yeah, is it gonna be will there be another long and lonely day until I see you? Gonna stay on up through the night, day and night. Gonna stay on up through the night, day and night. Yeah. Oh, Daddy, won't you rescue me? 'Cause I feel so incomplete. My body starts trembling with such anticipation. Is it gonna be? Tell me, is it gonna be? Lonely day before I see you. Yeah. Is it gonna be? Tell me, is it gonna be? I wanna be another lonely day before I see you. I'm waiting. Gonna stay on up through the night, day and night. Gonna stay on up through the night, day and night. Gonna stay on up through the night, day and night. Gonna stay on up through the night, day and night. Oh, Daddy. Yeah, yeah. Oh, Daddy, won't you rescue me? 'Cause I'm feeling so incomplete. Yeah. Is it gonna be is it gonna be will it be another? Will it be another? Before I see you, yeah. Is it gonna be? Tell me, is it gonna be? Will it be another? Oh, Daddy, 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 don't you rescue me? Feeling so incomplete. Yeah. Oh, my body's trembling, aching with anticipation. Yeah.
I don't know what you think about this, but I think there's also a creativity in doing covers as well, trying to make a cover your own and not just do it sort of, by the book. I think there is a creativity there as well.
I think great covers are great to do because you learn something.
Yeah.
When you take them apart.
Yeah.
And you see how they've been constructed, and you see why certain riffs work and why a certain groove really makes you want to dance, or you can't really go wrong if you pick a song that's so good. Then hopefully you can't make it any worse.
No, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. While we're on this subject, what's your preference in terms of studio or live? Because I know you're
every time.
Really?
Yeah.
You know what? Prior to the call, I thought she was going to say studio, because I ask everyone this. Why is that?
No. Audience interaction.
Oh right, yeah, that's easy.
Simple
Yeah,
as that.
yeah.
Just the fact that there is somebody in front of you and you're giving them
Not at the minute.
pleasure
There's
and
not.
they're showing it. Well, yeah, that is. Yeah, I know. I have to say that is the thing that I miss the most
Yeah.
with the lockdown. That is and I'm curious to know how we're going to get back to playing live because logistically it's a nightmare at the moment. But that is the thing for me. Live is everything because it's the moment you get your rocks off. That's why you're a performer. You go out to just share your art with people, and hopefully it's reciprocated. You know, so for me that's the best thing. Studio.
Because you've done a heck of a lot of studio compared probably.
I've done a hell of a lot of studio work.
Probably the most out of it. You know, either yourself or Dennis Rollins. I'm thinking of previous guests.
Yeah.
You've probably done the most out. You know, up there with Dennis in terms of having done a lot of studio in your career.
Yeah.
Why?
Massive amounts.
But it doesn't seem to be a preference. That's interesting. That is. Is that maybe because you had enough of it?
I'm enjoying recording my own stuff at home. That I'm really, because that's because I have total control over it. Maybe that's what it is. It's not having control.
Yeah.
It's particularly for dance music. It you know, it is out of my hands once I've delivered the vocals. So, I do like studio work, but sometimes I don't. It's up and down.
Yeah,
live always is a buzz for me because I've been performing literally since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
You know, from school musicals and school choirs right to now. So that's always been my thing. So and also because I find with live stuff you can experiment vocally and you can change things and you can just completely obliterate what people know a song to be and mess around with it and see if it goes down well. And I like that experimentation of live, which you can't really do in the studio. You have to kind of be formulaic so that you get it down so that it's coherent as a record, whereas live it just doesn't matter. It's about the moment.
I know I feel particularly as a singer second, if you know what I mean. Singing's been a later thing in life for me. Trumpet and brass was always first, and I know I feel a massive amount more pressure going into a studio than going on stage. On stage, I'm just excited, you know what I mean. But when I go into a studio, I think, oh, I better get this right, you know, and I put pressure on myself.
Well, that's it, isn't it? That's the reason. It's finite. You have to do it and get it right. and
that's it. Once it's done, it's done.
And that, whether you like it or not doesn't really matter. If this is the other thing about studio, really, which is why I like working at home, because sometimes my voice isn't in the right mood to give me what I want.
Yeah.
But when you've booked for a studio session or, you know, it's already organised, it doesn't matter whether your voice is in good shape or not. You've just got to get it done and you've got to find a way to make it happen, which I can do and I've always done. But, you know, you come out of some sessions feeling like, oh, God, it was a bit shit.
Yeah.
But they liked it, so I shut my mouth and just walk away.
Yeah. Well, I think in the house music game as well, Carol was saying that has always said this to me, is that she's done a lot of that, as you know. Is that you get this session singer culture where a singer's brought in like a trumpet player would be, or a sax player, or keyboard, whoever. In my world, like, you know, in like the jazz world, the big band world, and previous reggae and ska and funk, whatever. The singer tends to be one of the songwriters or the main songwriter, and they're the artist.
Yeah.
They're the one. I mean, in my case, I'm the one hiring the session musicians to come in. So, and I don't really do an awful lot of work. I think I've only ever done 2 or 3 jobs as a session vocalist.
Right.
Whereas I'm sure you've done a lot more than that. So you know, it's interesting, the different kind of different cultures, really. I guess like you say, in dance music, they're very separate. Right, here's the track. You put something over the top, give it back to me, see you later. Do you know what I mean?
Kind of, yeah. It is kind of like that.
Yeah.
I think you get a better input if you're the writer, and now, because the last few years I've stopped doing sessions in other people's studios when it comes to dance music, I record my vocals at home.
Right.
because that way I've got absolute control over what I send them. So, because, you know, some recordings which used to make me wince, and now they don't make me wince anymore because people like them for the weird little bits that I thought, oh my God, I did that really badly, but other people seem to like it, so I'll leave it alone.
Yeah.
So, you know, those kind of quirks in a vocal, you come to realise are part of what makes the vocal special. So it's kind of giving yourself a break, really, and not panicking over perfection. Because I think about the vocalists that I've loved over the years, and some you know, splits and cracks in their voice are the things that I love about their voice.
Yeah.
And I imagine, you know, to them, they probably think the same as me. Oh, my voice can't handle that. But we like it. We hear it and we like it. So it's those special things that you adore about a singer. I remember reading something about Marvin Gaye quite recently, actually, that he was really unhappy about singing falsetto.
Really?
He didn't like the sound of his voice up there, but Berry Gordy encouraged him to keep going, and that was the thing that everybody loved.
Of course it was, yeah. So, that's what he's known for, yeah.
Exactly. So, you know, despite the fact he wasn't keen, it didn't really matter.
He was a jazz singer by trade, wasn't he? He started off, his version of The More I See You, the Andy Williams number, is like absolutely amazing.
He's a genius. He's such a genius.
And he sings jazz so well with the big band and strings and all that kind of stuff. If you go back to like the Motown unreleased, nowadays they call them the Motown unreleased tapes or something like that. And it got him singing all the standards. You know what I mean? And he does a great job of them. I don't think you could say that even a lot of the great soul singers, would they do a great job singing those jazz standards? I don't know. Some would, some wouldn't. But Marvin Gaye absolutely nails them.
But he takes it into his music. You know, the music he produces later, because you hear that jazz influence all through it.
Oh, massively, yeah. And he used to record his interesting thing about Marvin Gaye is he used to record his all his low stuff first thing in the morning, which makes so much sense.
When your voice is knackered.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And not warmed up. Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's and also when we talk about cracks in people's voices and stuff like that, like it's also about what they're singing as well. I think the best singers for me are not necessarily the technically best singers, although some of them are, but it's how they put a song across.
Exactly. It's interpretation, you know.
Yeah, especially in the jazz world.
Yeah. And in the dance world, believe it or not, because, you know, well, if you listen to, I might get slated for this, but some of the singers in house music are pretty awful, but the way that they interpret a song is really unique.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it work.
Yeah.
So, you know, and in many genres that's the same, you know, in jazz as well. You know, there's some very strange vocalists in jazz.
Yeah, there are.
But somehow there's something about their voice which is so unique that you love it.
And it's also, I think, the important thing is knowing that it's them. When one of their records comes on, like for me, an example of that, a singer that I really like is Jamie Cullum. When one of his records comes on, he could be, and he does a wide variety of stuff. It could be a funk track, it could be a pop song or a jazz standard. But you know, that's Jamie. Yeah, if James Brown comes on, it's James Brown. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
whatever song he's doing.
This day and age, that is something I wrestle to be comfortable with, because I don't recognise singers anymore.
What, in terms of what's currently sort of in the charts? Yeah. No, I know what you mean. I don't recognise
it. I couldn't identify certain singers, and I find that really disappointing, actually, because the whole point, particularly for vocalists, the whole point is to be an individual, to have your own sound. And I feel like now the climate is that people emulate. You know, we emulate to learn, but we don't emulate for that to be the finished product.
That's right. Yeah, nail on the head there. Yeah.
Yeah, but now it seems that they're so good at emulating that you can't tell the difference between, I'm not going to mention any names, but between one artist or another, because they are so similar.
Yeah.
Even from across the pond to UK, I've noticed that, you know, you can't tell who they are, especially if they're in a similar genre. Then you've got no chance of identifying them. Personally.
That's what I kind of respect about Jamie Cullum, really. Especially when I saw him live, technically he gets slated a lot as a singer, particularly among musicians, and I've never really understood it, and I really don't understand it now. I've seen him in the flesh because he was awesome, and his range was unbelievable. His range was far better than a lot of male jazz singers that I've seen.
Yeah.
And the other thing about him is I can't put my finger on it, but there was something very British about his delivery. He did it in a very British way. He wasn't trying to be American in any sense. And I think there is a lot of that. I mean, there is generally in culture and everything else, but in music with singers, there is definitely a hankering to try and be like our American counterparts. You know what I mean? And I don't think it's not necessary, is it? You know, Britain's produced great music over the years, just as much as the States. So why can't we just be ourselves?
I've no idea, darling. I've never really got my head around that. Although, I don't know, it's maybe because I've been influenced by American music for so long. Because most of my favourite artists are American, I have to say.
Yeah, me too, yeah.
But at the same time, I don't sing in an American accent. And I was thinking about this fairly recently. Why? Because quite a lot of people think I'm an American. And I realise it's because I've got a Leicester accent. And you say words very similar.
Right.
With a Leicester accent to an American accent. So when I'm singing, I sing words that would be spoken in an American song very similarly. So that's why I think I'm identified as a Yankee. But other than that, I can't figure it out. So.
I've never identified you as a Yankee. Don't worry.
Have you not?
No, not at all. No. I've always thought you're very Leicester born and bred, really.
Yeah.
You know, very very much so. And so let's just talk about quickly going forward. Then you did touch on it a second ago. How are things going to resume for us? Do you know?
No, do you? I haven't got a clue.
No,
I really haven't got a clue.
I don't think anyone knows.
I think the biggest problem is social distancing at a gig. How is that even possible?
It's a massive problem, yeah.
It's a terrible thing. And, and yes, I know it's a pandemic, etc., but the whole point of music is to be around each other and to enjoy the experience together. And at some point down the line, that's going to have to happen again. Otherwise, music will just be online.
Yeah, which is a depressing thought, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not fun online.
No, not at all.
The point of music is to include, not to exclude. I've got no problem with watching stuff online. It's been really interesting to see how people have put together these kind of Zoom videos, and I've done a few myself, and it's fascinating. But to have to watch whole gigs where people are zooming, no, I don't.
No,
and I don't want to do that either. I find it very strange, and I've got absolutely no clue how they're going to do it. I've already been offered some gigs and I've turned them down because, quite frankly, I don't fancy getting on a plane anytime soon.
Oh, were they sort of PA gigs like what you normally do? Yeah.
And I was surprised they'd even started. I mean, one was in Italy, and I just thought, really?
Italy was bad as well. Early doors, yeah. Italy was really bad, wasn't it?
Yeah. So, and I got offered stuff in London as well, and I just thought, well, no, you're all right. I'll keep myself quiet for a while. So, no, I've got no idea how we're going to come out of this. I've no idea at all.
Yeah, it's a funny one really as well, because I also think the atmosphere at a gig will be really strange and really different with these kind of measures in place. Imagine a festival where everyone's in their kind of bubble.
I don't think you can. Be strange.
I don't think you can.
I don't think you can do it. Either you have the festival as is and you take the risk, or you just
have it online.
Take the risk.
Yeah.
But I think at some point you're going to find that people and musicians are just prepared to take the risk.
Yeah, well,
I think like most pandemics and viruses, at some point it's going to get to a manageable stage where it's not going to be, life-threatening anymore, because people will develop antibodies and vaccines and
an immunity to it.
An immunity. Yeah. So, hopefully it won't be too long, but who knows? I don't know.
I mean, the thing is, I always finish these interviews talking about what the person's plans are going forward, and obviously, like myself, your plan is to be releasing stuff and putting stuff out. But that in this day and age, with download and streaming and all that, it's got to be supported by some live stuff, isn't it? To make it kind of worth your while.
Yes. I'm also looking into. Oh my God, I'm going to be rubbish at it. I'm sure. I'm also looking into trying to make videos. Yeah. Because obviously just releasing the records is one thing, but the generationally, the youngsters, they expect music with video.
Yeah.
Whereas
it's standard thing now, isn't it?
My generation just expect music, so we're not fussed about the video.
Yeah.
So I have to take that into account. It's a ball ache, and I wasn't planning on it, but I'm warming to the idea of actually getting my head around, video programs and figuring out how to do stuff. So, we've got to adapt. We have no choice until we're let loose again.
Yeah, that's it.
Although Leicester, I'm not sure how soon that's going to be.
No, that's it. I mean, it's really starting to decimate the city's arts industry as well. The Haymarket's already gone. That went at the start.
I know.
So they were obviously struggling prior to lockdown, but then you look at the Y Theatre, they're putting out a Save Our Theatre campaign, and
oh no, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I donated to it yesterday, and I shared it and everything else. It's I haven't
been on Facebook, that's why I didn't see it.
There you go. Yeah, so you got to be on it. You got to be on social media. You got no choice.
I know.
But yeah, I mean, the Y Theatre is a bit different to the Haymarket in that the Haymarket was a kind of, okay, we're going to try and get this going again. It's been dormant for however many years. But the Y Theatre is like a staple. You'd never think that would go out of business because it's linked with the YMCA charity as well. And
but it's a tiny venue, and it's always the tiny venues that get kicked in the backside first, because
that's right. Yeah.
They rely on people coming through the door.
Yeah. That's
and
it.
if that stops, then they stop. And also, I don't know. That's terrible. That's a lovely little place as well. I really.
It's
like
great.
It.
Yeah, it's great. Really good. And again, I've got a lot of plans that involve the Y Theatre in terms of live stuff, because it's perfect for a big band to do a show in there. It's absolutely perfect. Looking at that, it is really starting to decimate the sort of Midlands arts industry, particularly in Leicester. And I can't see. There was this 1.5 million. It's 1.5 billion. Sorry, from the government in terms of support. I've not seen really how that's going to be distributed. It's kind of all gone a bit quiet, unless I'm not looking hard enough. But I've not really seen how it's going to be distributed. And as always with these things, the Midlands doesn't see a massive amount of it anyway.
No, we're always the last.
Yeah, that's right. There's a lot in the press about West End theatres and all that kind of thing. I'm thinking, okay, but what about places like the Y Theatre that are not, run not for profit? Locally, they have a lot of local good stuff on. They're part of the big part of the comedy festival, all that kind of stuff. But just
sadly, they've been trying to wipe out the arts out of education for long enough. So
Yeah.
But what they fail to realise is that music is everybody's mental health escape. It's the one thing that everybody, even if you're deaf, you can partake in. And it's the one thing that steadies everybody. I mean, throughout this pandemic, that's the one thing that's kind of kept people going.
Yeah.
So it's not just about it being a business, it's about it being a lifeline. A lifeline for people. So, and the fact that the government never invests enough in that lifeline is really sad, because I can't imagine that anybody in the government doesn't go to music to kind of relax.
Yeah.
Everybody does it, and it's always the one industry that just doesn't get paid for what it does.
Yeah, no, it's true.
For its influence and its help and its health and all the
value. Yeah. Value economically and health wise. I mean, it actually this pandemic has brought to light. If you look on, again, social media, but if you look at on the what the figures that the Musicians Union put out and people like that, is that it's brought to light what a big economic impact music and the arts has as well. It's massive. It's absolutely and the number of jobs as well.
$1 billion industry.
Yeah,
Even though we don't get paid well.
No, that's right. Yeah,
it raises a lot of money, and that's always been the way. That's always been the life of musicians, is to create out of love, but not get paid in kind for what you do, you know. So don't expect the government to understand that either.
No. I mean,
they haven't understood much so far. So I think we're probably last in the queue yet again, well as Leicester.
Well,
and
yeah.
the Midlands.
I mean, I was looking at it the other day. Like, I tried not to get too depressed because it was living in lockdown zone in Leicester. I'm a brass player and singer, both of which are advised against. And I'm in the arts. So I think, oh my God, you know.
Don't sing next to anyone. Don't play your trumpet next to anyone. Stand 6 meters apart and try and do a gig. Yeah.
And don't have any fun.
No.
Yeah, it's a funny one, really. I mean, I can't see the whole industry just migrating online. I don't think, you know. You look at the.
It's not going to happen. It won't happen. It's not possible. It's not. It's like most artistic industries. It includes people. You cannot do it alone.
No, that's right. It's collaborative. Yeah.
It doesn't work otherwise.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Lisa, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure, lovely.
Really enjoyed that. We covered a lot of ground there that I didn't expect us to. So that was cool. And I'm sure we'll be hopefully singing together in the not too distant future. Hopefully it's sometime this millennium.
Yeah, that would be good. That would be very good. Oh,
nice one. Thanks a lot.
Sweetie.
You too. Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining me for episode 3 of season 3 of On the Road With. My guest was the lovely Lisa Millett, and I'd like to really sincerely thank her for her time. It was a great wide-ranging conversation, covered a lot of ground, and it was great to give a first play to the track that we co-wrote together for King Brasstards, which is called Up All Night, and that will be out in the coming months. Also played on the show is This Time Baby. That's Nearer the Start, and that was one of Lisa's more iconic house releases, one of my favourite of her tracks, and that's on the playlist as well, on the On the Road With featured songs playlist on Spotify. So do go ahead, like that playlist to get all the commercially available music from the show. If you like what you're hearing, please do follow, like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast fix. There's a whole 2 seasons you can catch up on as well, and there's weekly episodes coming out every Sunday. You can also keep in touch with us via social media, so it's Gareth John Music on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, or if you'd like to reach out to me directly, it's garethrdjohn@gmail.com. If you'd like to suggest any guests, any feedback on the episodes, that would be more than welcome. And talking of feedback on the episodes, if you do take 2 seconds to give us a review on Apple Podcasts, that would be much appreciated. I'm going to play the show out now with another track that Lisa's done with Dave Anthony, a bit like This Time Baby, which you heard earlier in the show, and it's The Power of You, Deep Club Mix. Take care now. Bye-bye.